setting new standards in podcast excellence. You have joined the WBT, fully focused on business and taxes. Here is your host, Michael Lodge.
And welcome to the WBT. This is Michael Lodge. I'm glad that you have joined me. It's another day. It's Friday, November 1st. Can you believe November 1st? Our conversation today is going to be about listening. Let's see how well you do. I'll be right back.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
So I hope everybody went out and they had a great Halloween. How many of you have headaches from sugar highs because you snuck into your kids' candy? Or you bought too much candy and you've got bowls of it left over? I tell you, yesterday I thought, you know what, I don't have any candy in the house. No children come to this house anyway. I don't know if it's because it's so scary. I don't know, but we don't get any. Plus, there's a big old high fence around with a big old gate, so people can't really get in. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to go out and buy myself some candy. I had to buy shaving stuff anyway, so I'll just buy some candy. So I bought some licorice because I love licorice. So I get back to my office and I sit down and I look at this bag of licorice. And then I said, you know, I'm going to do some browsing as I'm eating my licorice. I'm going to have some relaxing time. The very first article that I pull up is from Los Angeles Times, and it says, licorice may be doing harm to your body. I ate it anyway. Enough of this scare tactics, because every single thing that we touch or eat or breathe is going to kill us. It seems as though everybody wants to make us believe that anyway. So our conversation this morning is about listening. You know, as a business mediator, I have to listen very, very well. I have two parties in front of me who are emotionally charged and who want to get to their arguments and make the other person understand and pound on the table. My job is to listen and to try to teach the other sides to listen. Because every person wants to know that what they're saying is of value to you and that you are paying attention to them. That's the key role of a mediator, is to listen and to take notes and to ask really good questions. I was reading an article in Entrepreneur magazine earlier this morning, because you know I get up at 5 a.m. to let my dogs out. Not because I want to, because they force me to. They come and they scratch on the side of my bed and they say, please let us out. So I have to get up and I have to let them out. So that's the time when I begin reading. And so I found this really good article on listening. And that's kind of what motivated me to do this podcast this morning on listening, because I read this really great article that was written by Atikan Tank. And he's a contributor writer to Entrepreneur magazine. But his very first sentence, or his very first paragraph of his article is dynamic. He says, listening can be a matter of life and death. Imagine a distracted hostage negotiator or an airline pilot who tunes out the air traffic control, Or consider the ER physician who fails to hear a critical ill patient's symptoms. These are extreme examples, but listening well is a game-changing skill for leaders, entrepreneurs, and business owners. He goes on to say, which is really good to know, is that only 10% of us, we human beings he's talking about, listen effectively. Research shows only 10%. That's so small. Now, I can believe it only because I've been in the mediation side where everything gets blurted out and you got to control the blurt. You got to get them back on track. Because they weren't listening. They fell within that 10%. He then says, we're technically listening, remaining silent while someone else speaks, but our minds are busy with other thoughts. It's so true. How many of us have been inside a meeting and in our brain, we are opening and closing filing cabinets and everything that we're thinking about. Open and close and open and close. But we're not paying attention and we're not focused on what is being said in that meeting. I'm guilty of it. I am 100% guilty of it. I have been there. I love the example. One time, I was talking to a friend about dreams. And he was saying, at night, when we go to sleep, our mind is a big, huge computer. It really is. In fact, it's better than a computer. But our mind begins to clean up all of our filing cabinets because we have pulled out files all over the place and put them in other filing places that we shouldn't put them in, or we've just laid them to the side and we think we're going to get back to them later. At night, when we go to sleep, our brain begins to clean up our filing mess. And that's what creates a lot of our dreams at night, as the brain begins to take all of these different files and put them back in the right spot in the filing cabinet in our brain. And I really believe that. Because I know myself, if I'm dealing with tax issues or if I'm dealing with business issues or mediation issues, I have so many files open, so many clients that I'm talking to, so many people that I need to negotiate with. And then when I go to sleep, thank God, I very seldom dream. So my filing system must be so messed up that it's cleaning up very quickly and very silently. But when we're sitting in a business meeting or we're sitting in a legal meeting, whatever kind of meeting we're sitting in, and we're sitting there, and our mind is elsewhere. It's elsewhere. There's an author called Stephen Covey, Covey, and he wrote a book in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he makes a statement in there, and it says, most people do not listen with the intent to understand. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. So they've already got the reply ready while you're still speaking. They're not listening to it. That is one of the issues that we have. In the 2016 survey, Bain & Company asked 2,000 employees to rank 33 different leadership traits. Participants picked centeredness, the ability to be mindfully present, as the top characteristic of leadership. Being present and silencing our inner dialogue, all those filing cabinets in our mind that's being opened and closed, and off into other worlds, while giving our full attention to others, makes them feel both heard and valued. So you need to stop Close up your filing cabinets and listen. Shut off your cell phones, lock them in your briefcase, and listen. We get bombarded by all of these texts and emails, and we feel that we need to respond to them right then instead of listening. That's why when I'm in mediation, my cell phone is turned off and it's in my briefcase, so I can't get to it until I have a break where I can open it up. But while I'm in a mediation session, and we're negotiating, we're talking, and they're telling their story, my full focus is on what is being said by both parties, because I've got to keep notes. Because I got to remind those people later what they just talked about. Being present and silencing our inner dialogue. Silencing our phones. Silencing our texting. Silencing those conversations you're having in your own mind on other subjects. So important, because I tell you, listening is the process of our communication style that gets us to a place where we have a final resolve, a final result, a negotiated outcome. Listening is so important in the line of work that I do, even in my tax practice. When I'm listening to individuals on tax issues, my mind has got to be listening to what they're saying, because just one word of what they say can affect the outcome of their tax return if I don't hear what they're telling me. Listening is so very important. I have been in court, and both sides are presenting their case to the judge, or presenting their argument to the judge. Especially in federal court, I've seen this happen, where the judge has already determined what he's going to do, and he's not listening to what the plaintiff and the defendants are saying. He's already made up his mind. It's probably the worst kind of justice that you can have, is to have a judge that is not listening. But it happens. In business, we have CEOs who let people kind of speak, but they've already made up their mind of what they're going to do. It happens, and you've done it too. I've done it also. But we have to retrain our minds on how we listen, and how we ask our questions, and how we communicate, and how we get to that final result that's better than what maybe we even thought about at the very beginning. So Jack Zinger and Joseph Folkman determined that the best listeners share 4 qualities. One is participation. Great listeners ask follow-up questions and probe deeper into the topic. We often think that silence indicates deep focus, but good listening is a two-way dialogue. Number 2 is support. Showing support and confidence ensures a more positive experience for everyone. Good listeners boost the other person's self-esteem during the conversation. Number 3 is cooperation. When feedback flows smoothly in both directions, neither party is likely to become defensive. In contrast, poor listeners use their own silence to prepare a correction or contradiction, which makes the exchange feel combative. Number 4 is positivity. Strong listeners provide constructive, considerate feedback. When a colleague knows you're listening attentively, they're more likely to take your suggestions seriously. It's very important that we have this positivity in everything that we're listening or communicating. It's very important. And then I was happy because they gave us, in this article, they gave us how to be a better listener. And he says when we're tired, distracted, or stressed, it's easy to let our attention slip. We're all human. We're all human. And I am guilty of being human. You're guilty of being human. We're all human. So number one, make eye contact. It might sound obvious, but eye contact shows respect and confidence. Don't forget to close or shut down your devices and turn off all notifications. Give the other person undivided attention. That is so very important in everything that we do. If we're having a conversation with our child, turn off your cell phone. Put it away. Throw it to the side. Listen attentively to what's being said. If you're having a conversation, excuse me, if you're having a conversation with your employees, listen attentively. Don't keep looking at the screen or don't keep looking at your cell phone. Listen attentively. Number two, let them finish. Allow your partner to complete the sentence or thought. Don't even think about your response until they're finished speaking. Let them finish. Thoughtful pauses are fine and can actually promote even more insightful conversations. Number three, listen for what's not being said. An estimated 80% of all communications is nonverbal. As you listen, watch for your partner's facial expression, posture, eye contact, gestures, and breathing. Don't be afraid to ask questions that address these clues that you're getting from their mannerisms. If you can schedule video chats instead of phone calls, always choose face-to-face interactions. You need to see how they're responding. Number four is ask open-ended questions. Watch great interviews such as Oprah, Barbara Walters, David Frost, Larry King, or any of those people. And you'll notice that the questions can't be answered with just a simple yes or no. Asking someone, what did you think about the project, will get you a much richer and full response. Then if you were to ask, did you enjoy working on the project? That's a yes or no answer. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Ask the open-ended questions to get a richer response. We do this in mediation so much is that my questions are always open-ended because I'm trying to glean more information that both sides can hear. Number 5 is make time for reflection. And I'm telling you, this is so important. I do this every single time I have a conversation or a meeting with somebody. So a calendar crammed with back-to-back meetings doesn't leave room for reflection. Entrepreneurs wear many different hats, but if you can, take a few minutes to reflect on each conversation before starting the next conversation with somebody else. Build it into your schedule and make notes to help process your thoughts. And so I'm going to tell you what I do is that I keep a journal. So every time that I have a meeting with somebody, or have a phone conversation, or if I have a video conference with somebody, I keep notes within my journal. And I go back to it and I look at it later on and reflect on what was being said, because normally what I do is I send an email backing up what we had just talked about, so that we're both on the same page of what the conversation was about, and we have documentation to show it. And then number 6 is watch your ratios. It's good to notice how much you listen versus speak in typical exchange. In Scott Eblin's book of Overworked and Overwhelmed, The Mindfulness Alternative, which is a great book, suggests a 2-to-1 ratio for listening to speaking. Others suggest an 80-20 split. Be mindful of that. Number 7 is build a team of great listeners. Skilled listeners learn faster. work well in teams, and tend to enhance the organizational culture and also the structure. They also have better interactions with customers and clients. If you're hiring, watch for people who listen well and catch nonverbal cues. It's very important. Very important. Every single day, we have these negotiations. You do. I know you do. If you have children, when you wake up in the morning, you begin negotiating. I don't want to get up. Yes, you do. No, I don't want to get up. I don't want to wear that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to have that for breakfast. I want to go to Jamie's. Can I do it? Can I stay overnight? The negotiations goes on at the very beginning when you wake up. The same negotiation with your spouse. You're negotiating. Well, do you want to go here? Do you want to do that? And you're negotiating. But you have to listen very well also, because you have to come up with a good response to what is being said to you. And you have to ask those open-ended questions so you get more information out of the individual talking to you. We're negotiating all day long. From morning until the time that we go to bed, we are negotiating. And it is the mere fact that we are talking to each other that we have to learn how to listen very well. When people come before me on mediation, and we are going over some really deep stuff on their business, and each one sees a different point of view, it's the responsibility of the mediator to listen and to make the notes and to ask the open-ended questions so that we can get better information, better data from each side so that each individual understands what is being said. And sometimes you have to repeat yourself, or you have to ask it in a way that what I just heard you say was la-di-da-di-da. But you have to listen very well. And we have to become better at that. Have you ever sat across from somebody and you're talking to them and they are trying to put words while you're talking? They're trying to put questions and they're trying to answer your stuff? Have you ever said, you know what, I really love the color, and just before you say blue, they're saying, oh, pink? No. My color I like is blue, but they're already inserting something and they're not listening to what's being said. You can drive those conversations, and you can even say back to that person, listen to what I'm going to say first. My color is blue, not red that you inserted. How would you know what my color is if I don't tell you and you listen to what I'm saying? I was probably one of the bad examples, but you understand, we've all had those conversations with friends where they've butted in their answer before we could tell what our end of story was. We have got to learn to listen better, each and every single one of us. I think you agree. Are you listening? Listen, if you would like to talk about this more with me, send me a text at 818-252-5682. Again, that's 818-252-5682. And we'll talk about it. This is Mike Lodge for the WBT. Everybody go out, listen, and have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This podcast has been produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content.